They say you should never meet your heroes. But I say, you should never meet your boss until you've seen how they treat the janitor. My name is Leo, to the employees of Sterling Marketing. I was just the new temp, a 24-year-old guy in a cheap, ill-fitting suit who fetched coffee, fixed paper jams, and got yelled at for breathing too loudly. To Marcus, the director of sales, I was something even less than that. I was a punching bag, a prop he used to make himself feel powerful. He called me intern, gopher, and waste of payroll. He spent 3 weeks making my life a living hell, stealing my ideas, mocking my clothes, and threatening to fire me every single day. There was just one thing Marcus didn't know. One small detail that wasn't on my son. I wasn't actually a temp. I was the founder of Nexus Dynamics, a tech giant that had secretly acquired Sterling Marketing 3 days before I walked through the door. I'd come undercover to see if the company was worth saving. And thanks to Marcus, I was about to make some very aggressive cuts. Let me take you back to day one. I walked into the glass-walled lobby of Sterling Marketing wearing a scuffed pair of shoes and a tie I'd bought at a thrift store. I wanted to blend in. I wanted to be invisible. I reported to the front desk, where a kind, older woman named Brenda smiled at me. "You must be the new temp, Leo," she said warmly. "Don't worry, honey, just keep your head down, do good work, and try to stay out of Marcus's way." I didn't understand the warning until 10 minutes later. Marcus stormed out of his corner office like a hurricane in a $3,000 suit. He was a man who reeked of expensive cologne and desperation. He took one look at me and sneered. "So, this is the help? HR promised me someone sharp. You look like you slept in your car." I just nodded and said, "I'm eager to learn, sir." "Don't speak unless I ask you a question," he snapped. "Your job is to make me look good. If my coffee is cold, you're fired. If my dry cleaning is late, you're fired. If you breathe on me, you're fired. Got it?" For the next 3 weeks, I played the part. I fetched his triple-shot espressos. I organized his chaotic files. I sat quietly in the corner of meetings while he berated his team for missing targets that were mathematically impossible to hit. I watched him take credit for work he didn't do and blame his mistakes on junior associates who were too terrified to speak up. It was a toxic kingdom, and Marcus was the tyrant king. The breaking point came with Project Phoenix. Sterling Marketing was in trouble. They were bleeding clients, and their only hope for survival was a massive rebranding pitch for a global beverage company. If they won the account, the company survived. If they lost, everyone was out of a job. Marcus was in charge of the pitch, but he had no ideas. He was burnt out, lazy, and relying on his team to save him. One late night, I was still in the office, shredding documents, when Marcus threw a stack of files onto my desk. "Hey, temp," he barked. "I need a fresh angle for the beverage pitch. The creative team gave me garbage. You're young, you know what the kids like. Write up a proposal, have it on my desk by 8 a.m. He turned to leave, grabbing his golf clubs. "And don't screw it up. This account is worth millions." I stayed up all night. I didn't just write a proposal. I built an entire campaign. I used my background in data analytics from Nexus Dynamics to target demographics Sterling had completely missed. I designed a slide deck that was sleek, modern, and deniable. It was brilliant work. The next morning, I walked into Marcus's office, bleary-eyed but proud, and handed him the drive. He plugged it in, clicked through the slides, and for a moment, he was silent. "Well?" I asked. He looked at me with a cold, predatory smile. "It's adequate. I'll have to rewrite most of it. Of course, it's amateur hour, but it gives me a base to work from. Now, go get me a latte, oat milk, and be quick." I knew what was happening. He was going to steal it. He was going to put his name on my work and present it to the board as his own stroke of genius. But I let it happen. I wanted to see how far he would go. The day of the big presentation arrived. The boardroom was prepped. The CEO of the beverage company was flying in. The air in the office was electric with anxiety. Marcus was strutting around like a peacock, holding the printed presentation, my presentation, with his name plastered on the cover page. 10 minutes before the meeting was scheduled to start, Marcus called me into his office. He didn't look at me. He was adjusting his tie in the mirror. "Liam," he said, admiring his reflection, "I've been thinking, we need to trim the fat around here. Efficiency is key to the new direction I'm taking this department." "Sir?" I asked, confused. He spun around, his face twisting into a sneer. You're fired. Get your stuff and get out. I stared at him. You're firing me? Now? But I did the work on the pitch. I stayed up all night. You did administrative support. He laughed. And honestly, you're a distraction. Look at you. You don't fit the sterling image. I can't have you lingering around while I'm closing $1 million deal. It's embarrassing. Security will escort you out. He checked his Rolex. Actually, you can show yourself out. I have a company to save. He slammed the door in my face. I walked back to my desk, packed my single box of belongings, and walked toward the elevators. Brenda, the receptionist, looked at me with sad eyes. I'm so sorry, Leo, she whispered. He's a monster. You deserve better. Don't worry, Brenda, I said, pausing by her desk. I have a feeling things are about to change around here. I took the elevator down to the lobby, but I didn't leave the building. Instead, I walked to the private executive elevators in the back, the ones that required a biometric key card. I scanned my thumb. The doors slid open. I rode the elevator up to the penthouse floor, the level above Marcus's office. I walked into the private boardroom where the board of directors for Sterling Marketing was waiting. They looked up, surprised to see a young man in a cheap suit walk in. Gentlemen, I said. Ladies, I apologize for the attire. My boss didn't give me time to change. The chairman of the board, a man who knew exactly who I was, stood up and shook my hand. Mr. Vance, he said, we weren't expecting you to join the pitch meeting personally. I decided to make a last-minute change to the agenda. I said, taking a seat at the head of the table. Please patch me into the conference room downstairs. I want to see this presentation. Downstairs in the main conference room, Marcus was beginning his pitch to the beverage company executives. He was charming, confident, and completely full of himself. He clicked to the first slide, my slide, and began to speak. When I conceived this campaign, Marcus said, his voice oozing arrogance, I wanted to bridge the gap between tradition and innovation. It came to me in a dream, really. I watched on the monitor upstairs. Shaking my head, he recited my words verbatim. He took credit for my research. He accepted the applause of the room as if he were a genius. When the presentation ended, the beverage executives looked impressed. This is remarkable work, Marcus. One of them said, truly visionary. Thank you, Marcus beamed. It's all about leadership. You have to have the vision to guide the ship. Suddenly, the large screen behind Marcus flickered. The video feed from the upstairs boardroom took over. My face appeared on the giant screen, looming over Marcus. He turned around, startled. He squinted at the screen. Julio, what are you doing? I told you to get out. Security. Hello, Marcus, I said, my voice amplified through the conference room speakers. Excellent presentation, really. I particularly liked the section on demographic shifting. It sounded familiar. Marcus turned red. This is a hacked feed. Someone cut the line. This disgruntled intern is trying to sabotage us. I'm not an intern, Marcus, I said calmly. And I'm not disgruntled. I'm the owner. The room went dead silent. You could hear the hum of the air conditioning. Marcus looked at the screen, then at the executives, then back at the screen. What did you say? 3 days ago, Nexus Dynamics acquired a controlling interest in Sterling Marketing. I explained, I am Leo Vance, the CEO of Nexus. I wanted to see how this company operated from the ground up, so I went undercover. Marcus looked like he was going to vomit. He loosened his tie, sweat beading on his forehead. Mr. Vance, surely you understand. It was a joke, a test. I knew it was you the whole time. I was just hazing the new guy, building character. Is that what you call it? I asked. Because from where I sat, it looked like you were bullying a subordinate, creating a toxic work environment, and claiming intellectual property that wasn't yours. You fired me 10 minutes ago because you didn't want me to expose that you didn't do a single stroke of work on this project. I looked at the beverage executives, who were watching this drama unfold with wide eyes. To our potential partners, I said to them, the presentation you just saw was created by me. The night before last, Marcus here provided the coffee. If you choose to sign with us, you won't be getting Marcus's vision. You'll be getting the resources of Nexus Dynamics and a team that is actually treated with respect. I turned my attention back to Marcus. He was shaking. Marcus, I said, you were right about one thing. We do need to trim the fat. We need to remove the inefficiency. And I've identified the biggest bottleneck in this company. Please, Marcus whispered, his voice cracking. I have a mortgage. I have a reputation. You should have thought about that before you treated people like garbage. I said, you're fired, Marcus. Effective immediately. Leave your badge on the table. And don't worry about a security escort to you. You can show yourself out. Marcus grabbed his briefcase and ran out of the room without looking back. The silence he left behind was heavy. But then, slowly, the people in the room started to breathe again. I came downstairs a few minutes later. The atmosphere had completely shifted. The fear was gone. I walked up to Brenda at the front desk. She looked terrified. Mr. Vance, she stammered. I called you honey. I'm so sorry. I didn't know. Brenda, I said, smiling, you were the only person who treated me like a human being when you thought I was nobody. That's worth more than any degree. I promoted Brenda to office manager that afternoon. I kept the creative team, gave them raises, and hired a new director of sales who actually understood the concept of teamwork. Sterling Marketing didn't just survive. It thrived. We won the beverage account. And a dozen more after that. As for Marcus, I heard he's struggling to find work. It turns out word travels fast in this industry, and nobody wants to hire a manager who fires the owner. He taught me a valuable lesson. Though, he taught me that your title doesn't make you a leader. Your suit doesn't make you professional. And the way you treat the person who brings you coffee tells the world everything it needs to know about who you really are. I kept that thrift store tie. It hangs in my office now, framed on the wall. A reminder that no matter how high you climb, you should never forget what it feels like to be at the bottom.